right. So my guest today is Sarah. Welcome to my podcast. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good too. Thank you. So first question, where are you calling from?
So I am based in London. I moved here in 2019. Yeah.
Okay. And where did you move from?
So I am originally from Hamburg in
Ah,
Germany.
Hamburg. Nice city.
Yeah.
I love
I love
it.
it. Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. It's a beautiful city. It's nice because it's not too big, but it has everything a big city
I
kind
mean,
of should
yeah,
have.
I mean to me it is a big city. It has
It
like what,
is.
like 3 million or 2 million people, something like that.
Yeah. No, it is definitely. I think now since living in London, it
Yeah.
doesn't feel
Yeah,
so big
okay.
anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
But it
Now
is.
it's like a tiny little town for you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and what brought you to London?
So I met my partner here. I met my partner here
Ah,
in 2018. I was here on holiday for a week because my friend used to live here and work here, and I visited her for a week. And then I met my partner on the second day of me being here for a week. And then,
okay,
yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it all. And
okay.
yeah, we fell in love, and then we had a long distance relationship, but it wasn't ideal, obviously. I mean, it wasn't that much of a distance, obviously, between England and Germany or Hamburg, but it's just not ideal. Kind of, if you're in a
Mhm.
relationship and you just don't spend every day, kind of day to day life together. And then after a couple of months, I just decided that I'm going to move, and that was it. Yeah.
Okay. And then did you moved in with him?
Yeah, so he at the time lived with his parents. So in
Ah,
England,
okay.
so we live, yeah, I mean, they are absolutely amazing. They're absolutely
Uh-huh.
lovely. And it's, looking back at it, I do really appreciate that they took me on because they have obviously seen me. We've spent a couple of days together, but they, didn't really know me. And then
Mhm.
allowing someone else to move in with them that they've,
Right.
not really met, that was a huge thing. But yeah, so we lived there for 2 months and then we got our own place. So for
Mhm,
me, I've lived on my own before that for like 5, 6 years. And then
mhm.
going back to living with someone, my partner, I mean, it was a crazy step really because I have obviously met my partner. We've spent time together, but just in over a week, like
Right, you've never been
five.
together for such
Yeah.
a long time, like, together.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then you
definitely.
moved in from, like, long distance relationship where you only saw him a few times a month,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
to, like, 24/7.
Yeah, yeah, that was
Uh-huh.
it exactly. Yeah, so it was a big step. Looking back at it, feels like a big step. Back then, it didn't really feel like a big step. I don't know. I think so. What I decided to do back then was I'm going to just give it a go. I'm just going to try it out, and I'm going to stay for 8 months. That's what I told
Ah,
myself, so that
okay.
I had, a bit of a security blanket.
Sure, why 8 months?
Because so I used to have a job obviously in Hamburg when I lived there, and we came to an agreement that I can take some long-term leave basically, and that the
Mm.
restrictions were 8 months, and then I rented out my apartment to a friend, and it just I think that was just kind of the time
Ah,
frame that
okay.
yeah,
Okay, so you're, settled it out with work that you could
yeah.
work, remote?
No, so I just took a break.
Ah,
So
you
I
took a
I
break,
was
okay.
yeah, so I was basically it's like I just took a break. I was still on the records basically of
Mhm.
being an employee, but I just didn't work actively. And so they said, it's okay, sort of 8 months is the time frame, and then, we would just have to make a decision like, do you want to come back? Do you want to continue working for us? Or if not, then we would, find someone else. So that was
I
the
see. Oh, that
yeah.
is nice of them.
Yeah, no, it was really good. I was really grateful because it gave me the security that if it doesn't work out, I can literally just go back and
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
my job, I
uh-huh.
have my apartment. Yeah.
Yeah, so, probably that was also, like, mentally helpful, you
Yeah.
didn't have, like, all this pressure at least on you.
Yeah, definitely. It was like a soft launch of
Mhm.
life abroad. Yeah.
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 Okay, then going back, so, I mean, in Germany, obviously, you learn English in school, but
Yeah.
were you comfortable to speak it?
I was comfortable to speak it. So English was always one of my favorite subjects. So I
Mm.
always loved like speaking English, learning English, and it was one of my I don't know the exact word for it in English actually, but one of my like strength
Uh-huh.
subjects.
Yeah,
So
okay.
the main, subject. So I was really comfortable speaking English, but I did feel that, when I actually moved here, obviously there are certain words that you don't necessarily learn in school. So I remember socket, like plug socket was one of the things. I had no idea what this is called. Like I just
Plug
never.
socket? Oh, you mean like for the electricity?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
see, like, I think in, American English is probably something else because I never heard
Yeah.
that.
Yes. So that's the other thing, right? So because we had American English in school,
Ah,
right?
you learned American English in school. I
Yeah.
learned British English in
Did
school. Yeah,
you?
I did.
Oh, where are you from in Germany?
From, close to Dortmund.
Okay. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So we had American English. So that was why when I came here, there were
Uh-huh.
certain words I had no idea what they were. And then obviously there are some things I'm sure that you might have experienced similar situations where there is a bit of like a slang or, just words that are quite local
Mhm, yeah.
or, area specific. Again, no idea. So there
Yeah,
were there were some differences and some kind of hiccups despite having
sure.
had English in school for years and years.
Sure,
Yeah.
but you felt comfortable pretty fast?
Yeah, I mean, I never shied away from, asking or even saying the
Okay.
wrong word. So I never made it mean anything negative about myself. I
Uh-huh.
never felt like, oh, Sarah, you should know this, or that something's wrong with you because you don't know it. I'd felt quite comfortable. But I think also my partner has really accommodated that safe space for me to ask
Mhm.
or to say wrong words, so it wasn't I never felt judged or
Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah, and
that
you
was
were
really
comfortable.
helpful.
Nice. Mhm, that's good, yeah.
Yeah.
And so how was it then settling into London? Did you immediately have to find work?
Yeah. So I moved here on the 1st of Jan in 2019, which is another funny story because we booked the first flight out of Germany. So my partner actually came over to help me move. And
Uh-huh.
then we spent New Year's in Germany. And then obviously on the 1st of Jan, we moved here or flew here. And we took the first plane and it was not a good idea after New Year's, like
No.
goodbye party. I don't know what we thought,
What
but
was like 6 a.m. flight?
yeah, it was early and we actually nearly missed it, but my mum picked us
Uh-huh.
up and luckily she picked us up because she rang
Oh,
us and,
which
got us
oh
out of
god,
bed.
your mom must have a nerves.
Yeah, I know, bless her. Yeah, but that was good. And yeah, so I moved here then on the 1st of Jan. We stayed with my partner's parents for 2 months. And I think after a month, I did search for jobs immediately. And then I think
Mhm.
after a month, or month and a half, I think I found a job. Um, and that was helpful, but it was also a big challenge to, you know, like to learn how the English like job market works and then
Mhm.
how to write a CV, like
Mhm.
you know, offer letter and all of the things. And I started really quite low key. So my background in Germany is to help people with disabilities, with mental health
Okay.
issues, so social work
Uh-huh.
without being a social worker. So it's basically empowering people to enable them to access their community or to live a really
Uh-huh.
independent life. And that kind of job wasn't or still isn't necessarily available here. So there were some
Mm.
differences that I struggled to kind of,
Okay, sure.
yeah, take them or find something similar here. So something similar here meant much less pay, like a really badly paid and
Okay.
just not very good conditions. So that was a bit of a struggle to kind of find my feet in that.
Mhm. And did you so what did you find then eventually?
Yeah. So what I did was started working for an agency because the entry was just really easy. So there was no, it was fairly easy. And I think it is because probably many people who move from abroad, I guess it's quite that might be a good point to start, like for an
Uh-huh.
agency. So I used to work in a school for children with disabilities and then
Okay.
like through an agency. And then I was employed by the actual school. So that
Mhm.
was, I kind of started, I went from where I was in Germany, went down a bit for the
Mhm.
agency and then kind of worked myself up again
Okay,
here
okay.
in England. But yeah, it was a journey. But yes, I worked in this school. And then I've worked for a local charity after 2 years. I think I changed to
Mhm.
that job but all in the kind of social work sector.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was wondering, like, in some countries, you're for example, like in Germany, you kinda stuck in your field, you
Yeah.
know? And I wasn't sure if you go to England, it's, like, a little bit more open, like, you have a wider variety of jobs available, or
Yeah.
if you're also, like, stuck to that niche.
Yeah. To be honest, I kind of made myself stuck to this niche because I didn't know how open England is. Like, I
Mm.
feel like England is much more open and accessible to switch careers or to try out different things.
Uh-huh.
So here, like in Germany, what I find, you need your qualifications. Like you need your papers, you need to have studied something or have an apprenticeship, or you have to have a qualification in
Yeah,
order
you're
to get a
very
job.
strict, kinda, right?
Yes,
And then you're,
very
like,
strict.
stuck in it.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas in England, like if you have connections or if you have some experiences that you can maybe transfer, or they look more at, in my experience, that might
Mhm.
not be,
Yeah.
applicable to everyone, but I found that they look more towards you as a person and what you bring with your experiences and your past, and maybe, if you
Yeah.
have some connections, which makes it much more accessible, much easier to
Yeah.
potentially try something different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that is, very similar here as well in the
Hmm.
US, versus in Germany, I don't know. I feel like it would be, like, harder in Germany to find a job in
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
field, and here it's like, "Oh, sure, I have a degree in XYZ, but I can try ABC as well."
Yes. Yeah. I do think the same. I think Germany is quite narrow-minded in terms of the opportunities that you have and also the abilities to get different experience. I mean, and it's so interesting because I used to, so before I moved here, I worked, but that was my first like proper job. I did my A levels and then I did a social year and then I did an apprenticeship. So I always stressed myself out so much of like, I have to find something that I want to do for the rest of my life
Yeah,
because
exactly,
otherwise I'm
exactly.
stuck.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that
exactly.
was so much pressure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, how do you know, like, what am I gonna do for every day for the next
Yeah.
50 years?
Literally, it's impossible. It's impossible. So that's why it took me so long to make a decision because I was
Yeah,
like, I'm not going to make this decision. I'm just going to stay in school and do this and do that. And yeah, ultimately I made a decision.
yeah,
And
but, like, still it's hard, especially, like,
yeah,
at such a young age.
yeah,
Like, you don't
yeah,
even
definitely.
know, you don't even know yourself, especially
Yeah,
yourself as an adult, you're a totally different person.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's very tough, but yeah, it is nice to have or to be in an environment where you have more flexibility
Mhm.
and more opportunities if you want to, for sure.
Yeah. And, do you still live in the same apartment that you moved in with your, boyfriend?
Yeah, no, we did. We lived there for 3 years and then we had to move out. Um, we used to live sort of on the outer boroughs of London and now we just moved just outside of the official kind of edge of London. So we're like 5 minute drive and then we're in, the boroughs of London. But
Uh-huh.
it is, London is a very expensive city and
Yeah.
housing is very expensive. And
Uh-huh.
so even where we used to live, it's classed as the best borough in London for like years and years. And I
Mhm.
wish we wouldn't have had to stay there, but obviously my partner he was born there, he grew up there, he always lived there. So for him, it was his home. And so we kind of naturally just stayed there. But London itself is expensive, but that borough specifically was
Okay.
very expensive as well. So
Yeah.
we lived there, but it just got to a point where we had to make some changes because our landlord decided to do something with his house, and so we just decided to move out a little bit. So we live now just outside of London. It's still London is, yeah, huge, very busy. So for me, if I would to decide, then I would just move out more into the countryside. I'm more of a
Okay.
small, and it's funny because I am from a small city near Hamburg.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
so in that direct. Mhm.
yeah, and I always told my mum, I was like, I hate this. This is way too small. This is boring. Moved to Hamburg. Now live in London, and I hate this now. I hate
Oh,
London. I hate the busyness.
oh, you hate it. Oh,
Yeah. I mean,
because
I don't hate it, but I, I just, I find it quite sensory, like overwhelming, like the busyness and the people and the noises. I'm quite happy. It's not been like that forever. I've really had to go out and be more in a bigger city and experience that. But now I feel like I'm in a stage in my life where I appreciate nature, I appreciate quietness, I appreciate having access to green spaces and to, water and all of the things.
yeah.
So London is beautiful in the city, but if you go out a little bit into the like outer edges, it isn't pretty. It really isn't
Oh
pretty. It's
no.
quite,
Ah.
yeah. So it depends where you are. Where we used
Okay,
to
yeah,
live
yeah.
was
Okay.
pretty, but there are some really ugly places. And so it's like, we never really go into the city center anyway. So for me,
I
I could
see.
just move.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you could just move. And would you though stay in England, or would you go back to
Yeah.
Germany, or
Yeah. I would stay in England. I do definitely, I do like England. I think England is really nice. The people are really nice. I mean, England is similar to Germany, but more relaxed in several different ways. And there are definitely things that aren't going very well and, government wise and everything. But generally, I do feel really happy here and I
Mhm.
can imagine staying here.
Uh-huh.
It's funny that you ask about Germany. I don't know if I would ever go back to Germany. I think the longer I'm not in Germany, the less I want to go back. How do
Yeah.
you feel about it?
Um, I also don't want to go back to Germany. I mean, at some points when I was here, I did wanted to go back to
Hmm.
Germany, but I don't know. I feel like I would rather go to a different country,
Mm.
because um, I think the weather.
Yeah.
I mean, and then also maybe because they're so unhappy.
Mm.
They're like always kind of grumpy. I mean, like if you get to know the people better, then they're friendly, sure.
Yeah.
But if you go to a store or if you go to any office, you don't get like greeted in a very welcoming way. It's always
Yeah.
kind of, why are you here? What do you want from me? Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I mean, it's nice to see friends and family, but it's okay if I'm just there once a year, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. I think the more, like I said, the more I'm here now, and then when I do go back, I see all the differences that I've never seen before when living
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely agree.
And
Some people can be very grumpy, and yeah.
and also like the longer time you spend away, you don't miss those certain
Yeah.
things anymore. Because like either you find the product, a similar product that just works,
Yeah.
or like when you go back and try it again, then it's like, oh, I don't know what was the big deal about it. Kind
Yeah.
of, yeah. Do you have
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I do. I think for me, I mean, there are certain things that I haven't been able, well, I do actually. I have been able to find them. There's a German shop not far from here, but I don't usually go there often. So there are certain like foods and things that I really
Mm-hmm.
look forward to when going back. And obviously, like you said, family and friends. But apart from that, I don't miss anything really
Yeah.
in Germany. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I think here in the US, it's also a little bit different, but like you still have, for
Yeah.
example, a great transportation system.
Yes. Yeah.
So like those things where I think like they are like way better in Europe anyway.
Yeah.
But
Definitely. No, it's a good mix because yeah, I am fairly close still when I get to, experience it. Like it's still Europe, like you said. So I think the differences aren't that huge and I think that really helps. So it's not like a proper culture shock of I live in a
mhm,
completely different, culture and environment. So that really helps,
yeah.
definitely.
But was there anything that was hard for you to get used to?
For me to get used to, so the biggest thing that I struggled with was to make friends or connections, which um was a big, so I moved in 2019, so we had the first year was quite exciting because it
Mhm.
was the first year of living abroad and
Uh-huh. Uh,
doing all of the things. Yeah.
yeah.
But then obviously 2020, the COVID hit, the
Yeah.
pandemic hit, so that was not very helpful.
No.
And apart from that though, I think what I really struggled with was it was just crazy. Like moving from, so I've never lived abroad before. I've always been a very content person, meaning like I'm just in my bubble. I have
Mhm.
my closest people, I have my family, I have my job and
Uh-huh.
every, that's me
Yeah.
in my bubble. So I haven't really looked out of that because I
Uh-huh.
don't feel the need for it. And so then I was in a completely different environment and then all of a sudden had to experience myself in a different way. So, and with that meaning, like, I was different than other people and I didn't know everything. And I had to, I had some language barriers. I had some knowledge gaps of how to get health insurance. I had no idea. So all of these things, like just being outside of your comfort zone and then experiencing yourself. And I really experienced myself in a way of being very critical to myself and feeling having loads of negative thoughts about myself and about what was going on. And then obviously experienced loneliness because I didn't know anyone here. Then the pandemic hit. Obviously I had my partner, but your partner can't fulfill all of the
Yeah,
roles.
exactly. Yeah, you want to see sometimes another person as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was definitely the biggest thing for me. Um, but in terms of getting used to it, I think I am fairly able to to adapt to things. So there weren't any like major things that I really struggled to adjust to or get used to. I think it was just, okay, that's the new normal now. So I just take that on and adjust to
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you do like some super British things now?
I do love tea now, which I've never
Yeah,
done before.
uh-huh. I do
It's
it too, and I mean, my tea with milk.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. It's so good though. I never realized what I was missing, but yeah, I do love that. The food here is very bland, but you just work with it and you just,
Yeah.
cook your own food.
Just
So I'm
add
definitely
some
not.
salt.
Yeah. Oh gosh, honestly, they never like. It's just so bland. Apart from curries, they are really good.
But
But
isn't
yeah.
it I guess like you are in London, so I would assume that you have like all the foods available and all like crazy good cuisines.
Yeah, I mean, I do probably. I I mean, I love a good curry is really good. But then it's, fish and chips shops, which is just deep fried fish
Yeah.
in a batter and some really plain chips with,
Yeah.
like, you can put some sort of vinegar on it and taste like something, but it's just, it doesn't taste like anything, like, apart
Yeah.
from the curries. And then obviously you have some like wings and pizzas and all of the things. You can definitely find some good restaurants,
Yeah.
and I'm probably not the best person to talk about that, because
Okay.
I'm never like uptown and find all the fancy
Right,
things.
right.
But generally, like, if you go out here, you go to a pub usually, and then the usual like pub food is just, that's what I'm kind of referring to. Is
Right.
just
Okay, I see.
bland, but
I got
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah,
Like mashed potatoes and bangers.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and peas that have nothing on them.
Okay, I see. Like it's all like, hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
no,
bit
I
bland, but
understand.
I mean, it's good, I guess, in a way, not to eat too much salt. So I'm
Oh,
trying to
yeah,
think
yeah,
about
right.
that,
It's
but
all healthy.
yeah, good
They
old
watch
deep
their
fried fish.
cholesterol.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, but, since you just mentioned, like, it was hard for you to find friends, so the way I found you on Instagram was because you do the friendships abroad, um
Yeah,
I don't know how to call it,
coaching. Yeah,
coaching, okay, friendships
yeah,
abroad coaching. So how did you come from that to, "Hey, I'm an expert in this now." So what
yeah,
was the transition?
yeah. So for me, like I said, for me, the biggest thing was feeling lonely and feeling sorry about myself and sorry for myself, of like, I'm sitting here. So we had so many examples where obviously my partner grew up here. He had his own friends and sometimes he met them. And then I sat there and I felt sorry for myself because I was like, I don't have anyone here and this is horrible and I'm just sitting here on my own. And then I was miserable and I was angry with him and resentful
Mhm,
towards him. And I had all of these things going on. And then at some point, I just decided that I had to do something about it, and that, we can't continue like this, and that I have to work towards making friends. And I can't
mhm,
just sit here and not do anything and feel sorry for myself. So that was the first and like biggest step, to actually make a decision and to
mhm.
realize that it isn't something that, there isn't someone just going to knock on your door and
Yeah,
be like,
yeah.
"Hi, I'm going to be your friend," but you
Right.
actually have to decide to do something for it. And then the biggest thing that helped me was coaching. So there wasn't a friendship coach at the time. Obviously, I'm, as far as I know, the only one who's offering this specifically to expats who live abroad. But I, as I said, have always been in this field, and I'm very educated on psychology and all of the things, how our brain works and how we can empower ourselves and take action and all of these things. And then have learned coaching and coaching techniques and coaching tools and all about coaching and how it works. And then I've just combined those two and really worked on myself and really worked on how I'm feeling and what action I'm taking and what I can do to get myself out of it. Because, like I said, there's no upside to sitting around and not doing anything, but you actually have to take action. So,
So,
yeah.
so you also had a coach in the beginning? Or did I
No,
misunderstand?
no. So in the beginning, I didn't have a coach. So I learned all the kind of material around it and
Ah,
basically
okay.
coached
Got it.
myself because there wasn't anyone available. I was very new to coaching as well. So there was loads of business coaches, there are loads of, I don't know, fitness coaches, but there wasn't anyone in the field that offered something that I felt would kind of touch on this subject. So yeah, it's obviously, it's quite niche to help people to feel better within themselves and to be comfortable meeting people and actually creating some meaningful connections, which is what I'm offering now. So there wasn't anything available at the time,
Okay.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, and, so then you decided to make this your field?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've learned everything that I felt I needed to learn and helped me to take action. And then I, went about to meet some people, and I was intentionally building more meaningful connections. So obviously I had my job, I did have some hobbies, but I never really utilized them to build connections on a deeper level. Like I just
Mhm.
went to work, I did my work, and then I went back home. Um, so I've learned the coaching techniques to get me into action and to help me to
Okay.
feel better within myself. Because the thing is, with connections and with making friends, what we often don't realize is that we have to work so much on ourselves first before we are able to make
Yeah.
meaningful connections and healthy connections, right? Because where I was at was I had doubts about myself. I didn't feel comfortable and confident within myself. And so then the way I showed up when I did meet someone
Yeah.
was not confident, not comfortable, very attached to, are they going to like me? Like, oh, maybe I
Right.
say something wrong, right? And that isn't helpful. So I
Mhm.
had to do this work first before I was actually able to make any connections. And
Okay.
yeah, through doing it myself and through helping by now, like quite a few people to be able to do that, I've just become very knowledgeable within the field of making connections and actually going beyond the acquaintances stage and the superficial stage, but also the part where you work on yourself and you actually work towards feeling more comfortable within
I
yourself.
see.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how long did it take you to make friends then after you finished that coaching?
Yeah. So it's been a work in progress because so how long does it take me? I would say it probably took me about a year and a half to go through the whole stage from like scratch, because
Mhm.
obviously I decided, and then I was like, okay, so how am I going to go about this? And so I had to
Yeah.
do lots of research and apply this. And then I failed a bunch of times and I tried again.
Mhm.
That's all part of the
Do you remember where
progress.
you tried in the beginning to make friends?
So I used what I had um, access to. So I used my workplace
Uh-huh.
and my colleagues. I went to a yoga class regularly, so I used that to
Uh-huh.
connect with people. And I used a lot of, because obviously it was COVID as well, in and
So it
out
was
of like
harder.
lockdowns. Yeah, and so there were some like apps that I've used. So there's Bumble, BFF, which I think is
Mhm.
available hopefully in the US as well. I'm pretty
I
sure it is.
I know Bumble, but it's for
Yeah,
dating. It's not for making friends. But maybe there is a Bumble BFF. I'm just not I had never
yeah,
heard of it.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm sure it's available there. So that it's like Bumble, but it's specifically for friendships. So
Uh-huh.
basically works the same. You swipe right and left and connect with people. But yeah, I think the bottom line is to make it as easy as possible, to make it as accessible as possible for yourself. Like if you decide I want to make some new friends and then you go about joining loads of events and that isn't something you naturally
Yeah.
do,
Yeah, yeah.
it's not very helpful.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, "Hey, I'm like an introverted person, but I still want friends, but
Yeah,
I'm not going to a big event and say like, 'Hey, here I am.'" You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it is hard because, like, you have to go outside and, like, introduce yourself because, like, nobody knows you. It's like nobody
Yeah,
knows you exist, right? So,
yeah,
I'm sure, like, a lot of people, when they know you're there, they wanna be your friend.
yeah. Yeah, it is hard to get out of your comfort zone and to, go to events or to do something that requires for you to be in front of people, because it goes against what our brain is programmed to do, which is to protect you and to keep you safe and to use the least amount of energy. Because if you go out there, you're obviously potentially going to be rejected by certain people. You're
Right.
not going to always meet, like, not everyone you meet is going to be your friend, or it's not going to work out with everyone.
Exactly.
So it's part of the game, but for our brain, that is like, well, we don't want to be rejected because that might mean potential death. Obviously, it doesn't, but our brain's like, this is dangerous, we shouldn't do this. So then we sometimes choose to stay on the couch and watch Netflix instead
Okay,
of
yeah,
you
sure. It's
know, going out.
easier just to get
Yeah,
entertained somehow.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. And so now you have a bunch of friends?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. So I've been able to form, like, some of them moved away again, and some of them, things have changed. But I have my close friends now here,
Mhm,
and I have my close friends in Germany. And what I learned throughout this experience of like making friends and building connections is that much so when we feel lonely, that person that has like loads of friends and they still feel lonely, and we have someone who has a bunch of friends and they don't feel lonely at all. So
mhm.
it doesn't matter how many people you actually have in your network or how many people you have around you, like how you feel towards them, whether it's
Yeah,
lonely or whether you feel connected and
yeah,
satisfied, it doesn't matter. It
yeah,
doesn't depend on your circumstances, it depends on how you feel towards them.
that's true.
And so for me, what I have focused on a lot within this journey is to actually just feel how I want to feel towards whatever circumstances I'm in. So whether I have 2 friends or 10 friends, I want to
Mhm,
feel connected and I want to feel satisfied. I want to feel loved and appreciated and just good within that. And that is, again, something that I've been able to do, which I'm very grateful for, because things, some friendships change. I don't make that mean anything about myself, and I don't, make it mean anything about them either. So it's just something that is part of connections and friendships, that things change or people change, I change. But all that to say, like, yes, I do have an amazing group of people here now that I feel very connected to. And it's just been so interesting to go through this journey and to meet lots of people and to make connections and learn lots of things about myself as well.
mhm. And would you say your friends are, more people who moved there from somewhere else, or do you also have friends that are from England or, like, even from London?
Yeah, so it's funny because I mainly have friends from England,
Ah,
from London.
okay.
So I don't actually have many friends that moved here,
Mhm.
which goes against a lot of what other people are saying of
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
struggling to make friends with locals
Yeah.
and feeling, yeah. So I never had any issues with that at all, but I never had the thought that it's hard to make friends with locals, because it never even occurred to me that there's a difference until I heard other people talking about it and
Ah, okay.
sharing their experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, because, for me, uh it's easier to click with somebody who is from somewhere else than the
Mhm.
locals. I feel a lot of times that, um, they I don't know, they ask me different questions or they don't know how to approach me
Mhm.
because I'm I mean, obviously no, but if they hear me talking, I have an accent, so
Yeah.
they know it right away. They like stop asking me questions, or they always
Yeah.
just ask me shallow questions about like, "Hey, where are you from? How long have you been here? Why did you come
Yeah.
here?" It's always the same. So I'm like, and then after this, there's like silence.
Mm.
They stop talking. It's like, okay. I mean, I have friends, it's okay, but I just feel like for people who live there for all their lives, it's like always harder, or like, and not harder. Wait, harder is the wrong word, but it's like, I don't know, they just stop kind of.
Mm.
And I mean, like, for
Yeah.
me it's the same way. It's like, hey, if you just stop now, I don't know what to ask you either.
Yeah. It's a complicated thing, and it really depends. The thing is, what we can't control how the people show up, right? Like I can't, it's not in my control to change or to influence. I mean, influence probably, but not change how someone, like what questions someone asks me or what they say or what they don't say. But what I always focus on is that what is in my control. And
Mhm.
if I feel uncomfortable in the situation already, it's going to be very apparent, right,
Oh,
to the
yeah,
other
okay,
person.
that's
And so
fair, sure.
you both feel
Yeah,
really
ugh.
uncomfortable, and then they go through their set of questions and you have your set of answers,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
it's just
exactly. It's
awkward.
like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
finished now, bye. Can I go now?"
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
true, like, yeah. There's so much awkwardness in, like, adults making friends.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that
like
yeah, definitely.
dating, you know?
Yeah. I know. It is, it there it doesn't have to be like it literally there is some awkwardness because it's us putting ourselves out there and being vulnerable. Like when we
Yeah,
make friends, when we connect with people, we are vulnerable, and that's not very comfortable
right.
sometimes, right? So it's normal. There will always be some awkwardness, but it's what we want to do with it. And when we have these situations where local people always ask me the same questions, then it really depends how you think about it and what you want to do with it. Maybe maybe you can prepare some other questions that you then go on and ask the other person,
Uh-huh.
or, it's really just preparing yourself for it. Um, but yeah, there's a saying, making friends with adults is really hard and it's difficult, and there
Yeah.
is some truth to it. But if you know how to navigate it, it, it is very simple. Like it is
Mhm,
very simple. It's not easy, but it's very simple.
mhm. So do you always have, like, some, whatever, talking points in the back of your head?
I mean, I do, I don't really anymore. Like I used to actually think about what can I ask the other person. So if I went on, if I used Bumble, BFF, and then I met someone and we arranged to meet up, I did actually prepare what can I talk to this person about? Like, what can I ask her? What can I share about me that might lead into this? Just to feel prepared and not to be like have this awkward silence. Like I
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
preparing certain things to talk about so that I can think, okay, if she doesn't say anything, I have like 5 things to talk about.
Okay.
And another thing that is really helpful is to just ask, like by asking questions, you don't have to speak that much, right? So
Exactly.
if you ask
Yeah,
loads of questions, then you can relax, and then whatever they say, you can just refer back to that. And, there's a whole kind of way of learning how to communicate or learning how to ask questions or learning how to navigate these conversations, especially like small talk conversations and
yeah,
things like that.
yeah. Well, I'm glad you have friends now. That's nice because, like, you probably were super depressed and, like, needed to get
Yeah.
out of that hole.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it was a difficult time, and I'm glad too. Yeah, I'm glad. I mean, I even at that time considered actually I move back to Germany. It's
Mhm.
just not working out. So it
Uh-huh.
has a huge impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like you need friends, like, not just work and
Yeah.
partner, but you also need, like, other faces to talk to.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
definitely.
And, so do you do this now full time?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I do this full time now. I've been doing it for 1.5, about 2 years now, and I've just stepped into doing it full time, and yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's so interesting to meet so many people all over the world, live in different countries, we're from different
Okay.
countries, and it's so interesting to see how similar the issues are, like despite
Uh-huh.
having different backgrounds, living in different countries, that people do really struggle with the same things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very interesting.
So do you work online, I assume,
Yeah.
and you work with all kinds of schedules? 'Cause, like, if
Yes.
you and you work with all kinds of time zones.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's
It's
awesome.
yeah. No, it is good. I mean, it's been it worked so far. It is always a bit of a, calculation game of
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah,
they're in this
uh-huh.
time zone and I'm here. But yeah, it's worked so far, so fingers crossed. But it's nice actually because it gives you a bit of a variety of like throughout the day. So sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes it's in the evening, or it's not like a normal 9 to 5
Right.
kind
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
job. Yeah,
Totally. Like you need to make a room for the time zones.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting.
Cool. Let me just check my questions real quick. Um, okay, one sec.
Nice.
Um, so you kind of already said this, but would you and your partner ever go move to Germany, maybe?
Yeah. So I don't
Or like
know.
was it ever like a question in the beginning, hey, don't you want to move to Hamburg?
Yeah, so before I moved here, for me, I just made the decision myself to come here and obviously, agreed with my partner that this is probably the best decision because there are two main reasons that I decided to do this and that it's probably going to prevent us from ever moving to Germany, which is one, he doesn't really speak German.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't really speak German.
Yeah.
um, which isn't necessarily the biggest problem. In a city
Mhm.
like Hamburg, he would probably be able to communicate in English and he would probably learn German as well living
Yeah.
there. But it just, on a professional level, like it is probably not the easiest. And the second thing was that his career and professional background, at least when we met, was not really applicable to kind of what we discussed in the beginning, like the
Mm,
German market. Like
right. Okay.
he's had experiences and loads of jobs, but he hasn't had like a university degree and he can
Mhm.
prove of this,
Yeah.
so it would have been really difficult for
Right.
him
That makes
to
sense.
find work there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it hasn't changed then, I guess. So that
Yeah.
answers the question.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I don't feel any urge to move there. And I think it would, like, his career and that has changed. But again, even with the changes, I think it would still be difficult for him to kind of, adapt there. And I don't actually, yeah, I don't think I want to do it. And I think it would be hard for him. So I think we're just going to stay here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do like people s- or like what do people always assume like the Germans are like?
Yeah. It's, I don't really hear many assumptions. Like when I do tell people that I am from Germany, then it's more sort of curiosity and interest. And like you said, oh, where? And then they tell me about their stories, where they've been in Germany. And it's
Yeah.
mostly Cologne or Berlin,
Mhm.
or Frankfurt for work. Um, and then, yeah, so it's not really, I don't really hear many people like sharing their assumptions. So it's more that they share their experiences or they just ask me questions out of curiosity,
Yeah.
whether, I, I know this or I've been there or just to find some like connection points. But yeah, I've never really had anyone. What do they say to you?
Um, I mean, they usually just say like, "Oh, I thought the Germans are very strict," because I'm
Mm,
always like have a big smile on my face when I see people. So, and they always assume like the Germans are the opposite of that.
yeah.
And then also I'm very small, so and then they're like, "Oh, I thought the Germans always very tall." So,
Yeah.
it's more like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think again it's probably very different between like the US and probably the UK. I think the UK has much more of an idea of maybe, what Germans are like or Germany. I think the US, maybe because of the distance, many people I
Yeah.
speak to actually have been to Germany as well. So it's probably 9 out of 10 people
Yeah,
or
it's
eight
so
out of 10 is like,
close.
yeah,
Kind I mean,
yeah,
it's a 1 hour flight.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
there are no kind of awkward, like, oh, I think, yeah. So it's actually quite um, pleasant conversations with people most of the time.
Yeah, and then also like how Germans are presented in on TV sometimes. I mean, depends
Yeah,
on what kind of TV, but usually it's like always like the Bavarian style, mit
yes,
Lederhosen und Bierstein und so. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, yeah, but I'm not from that region.
yeah.
I'm not like them at all. I don't even understand them. So,
Yeah, exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
there are many jokes that are being made about
Yeah.
Germans, yeah, around me as well, which is funny because I don't care. Like, I don't have any, I generally don't care. So it's quite funny. Sometimes I do laugh about them as well because it is true. So, like the Bavarian style or,
Yeah.
whatever, Oktoberfest and things like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Oktoberfest is like one thing everybody tells me, and I'm like, sorry, I cannot say anything about it. I've never been there.
Yeah.
It was not a big thing in my region when I lived there. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think we're coming to an end. I don't have any more questions really. Let me just check one more time. Oh yeah, just one question. Like, since you moved there, just before Brexit.
Mm.
So how did you have to like get any paperwork done?
No, so I was really lucky because I just moved before Brexit. So all I had to do was just the normal. So you can apply for a pre-settled status and a settled status, which I think you can still do now, even after Brexit, if it's from like the EU countries. I'm
Mhm.
not quite sure. But yeah, it was very easy. That is another thing that's really good in England. There's a gov.uk website and it has everything on there and it's very simply described and you know exactly what to do and it's very easy. So I just had to do this. And yeah, it just was very, very easy, but I think it has changed a lot now since Brexit. Like, I guess depending which countries you're
Yeah.
moving from, but yeah, it was good.
So was it just like you had to fill out one paper and send it out, or was it like a bunch of paperwork?
No, I think it was, you know what, I can't even remember,
Okay.
but I think it was
Uh-huh.
pretty simple. It was just online, like filling some things out. I think I
Uh-huh.
had to prove my identity, and then
Uh-huh.
you have like a national insurance number here, which gives you like health
Yeah.
insurance and tax and everything. And I guess you just had to provide that. So it was very, very simple, straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought like now since everything's changed with Brexit, like you would need to get like a complicated visa or something.
I think it probably might have changed since. Yeah. So for
Uh-huh.
me, then it was just moving here. I applied for the national insurance number. I got the pre-settled status, and then that was it. And I think to get that, like, I do remember, I think it was just proving my identity with my passport, and then probably providing some like proof of address, kind of, proof of, I don't know, bank statements or utility bills or something like that, so that they know that you are legit, basically.
Yeah.
um, but I do remember it was much simpler than probably any process would have been in Germany. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
probably.
But I
Um
think it's probably changed now. Yeah.
yeah. Did do you feel like any changes since Brexit?
I don't, I can't tell that I personally, to be honest, like what I mentioned in the beginning or like earlier on, I'm very much in my own bubble, meaning
Yeah.
and I actually actively ignore any news.
Yeah.
That's a life decision. Like
That is
literally, I
good.
can,
It makes
I
you
can't.
happier. Yeah.
Yeah, I just can't. I
Yeah.
actually, when the Ukraine Russia war started, I was like, and I'm a researcher, I'm a learner, I want to know like every detail. So when this happened, I just researched like hours and hours of like what's going to happen and all the news and what are
Mhm.
people saying. And I just felt I basically just thought the world's going to end tomorrow. Where's the point? And everything's
Mm,
pointless. And where,
yeah.
why should I even do this? So I just made a decision. Me and my partner actually, we just don't. I hear whatever happens every now and again, but I don't actually actively look. So in terms of Brexit, I am very much my own bubble with my business, with my dog, with my fiance, with my friends, and that's it. And because of that, I don't really, it hasn't applied to me
Right.
in any way, I don't
Mhm.
think.
Yeah, okay, that
There are
makes
probably
sense.
loads of changes, but I haven't noticed any as such. No.
Mhm. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right, then we're coming to an end now officially.
Yay.
It was really nice to talk to you, to meet you.
Thank you, TT. Yeah. It was
Okay.
lovely to meet you.
Okay, I just